Oh, hi neighbor. I can't believe this much time has passed by so quickly. If you have not yet tuned into the Moving to Houston series, please go back and check the other 4 videos before this one, where I show you what it was like packing, the drive, spiritual warfare that I encountered. And today, you all, I'm going to try to make it all make sense. Let's go. How it is that I knew that God had called me to move to Houston, Texas. I knew because, for one, it didn't make any sense. My family lived in Florida. I was planning to move to Jacksonville, Florida at the time, and I didn't know anybody in Houston. I had never been to Houston except for the one time I went for a United Airline flight attendant interview. If you all want to know more about my international flight attendant experience and all of that journey, then please check out the video above. But anywho, it just didn't make sense. The other reason how I knew it was God is because once that thought came into my mind, I started to see YouTube video suggestions about people who moved to Houston, Texas because God told them to. I kid you or not, I came across so many different videos regarding that, and so I would watch them every single time because it's like, God, you got to give me some stuff. And you know, God also would confirm with numbers. Like, one of my favorite Bible verses is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you. And in one of those videos I was watching, I was like, Lord, if this is really you telling me to move, I said all this in my mind, then give me a sign that I know is only from you. And you all, in that video, they gave me that verse. And so then I said, well, God, that's a pretty popular verse. Like, I was like, I can't think of it right now, but there's a Bible story about a gentleman who was asking God to confirm something for him, and like he wanted God to have the ground be wet but leave the blanket that's on the ground dry, and vice versa. So it was kind of something like that. I'm the type of person where I need a lot of confirmation, because I'm always like, Lord, I don't want to make the wrong move or move because it is my flesh trying to make something happen that you didn't call. I was like, Lord, that's a pretty popular verse, so can you just give me one more? And one of my other favorite verses is Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Same exact video, I got that second verse and I said, okay, God, I'm here, I'm listening. The third reason how I knew it was God that was instructing me to move is because when I was looking for apartments in Jacksonville, Florida, I couldn't really find anything that I really loved. So when I started looking in Houston after I got all those confirmations, I found the perfect apartment within a day. So I applied for it, and when I applied for it, the rent actually had lowered from when I first saw it, and the opening date for it was the day after my lease ended. So everything just aligned so perfectly. It's something that was out of my control. It was easy, to be honest with you. So that is how I knew that God was calling me to move to Houston, Texas, and it wasn't something that I was just thinking or dreaming about. But you all, just because you are confirmed to move somewhere, and just because God tells you to do something, does not mean that it's all going to be peaches and cream. If you all have seen my other videos, then you know that I got hit very hard with spiritual warfare. And did I get hit? But each and every time I overcame, and it built my faith and my trust in God more and more, and it just made me feel even more encouraged that I was on the right path. I wanted to be able to also break down how it is that I move and give you all some tips that will possibly help you all on your move if God is calling you to move. The first step that you want to do is you want to determine your move date. God may tell you exactly when to move, but God didn't give me a set date on when to move. He just told me to move, and that was on me. So for me, I did not want to stay with my family. Like, my mom offered to let me stay at her home, but I have 3 children under the age of 3, and we were coming from a 1-bedroom apartment that I had stayed in for a year. And you all, I was just yearning for my own personal space. So although the gesture was very kind, I was like, I need my own space. I decided to move as soon as my lease was up. And for that was like in spring, which is usually like a pretty okay time to move. They say the best time to actually move though is in the summer or the fall, especially if you have children, because your children are usually out of school. The weather is a little bit more decent compared to like moving in the winter time or in the spring where there's a lot of rain depending on what region you're in. So typically the summertime is a better time to move. Plus there is usually more to choose from in the summer because most people usually move in the summertime. But if you want to have the more affordable time to move, it is in the winter, because again, people are not moving that often in the wintertime. So people who do have availability, they are trying to get people in the door as quickly as possible. So rates are usually a lot more affordable or lower than they usually would be. However, on the flip side with that, there's usually less to choose from because people are not leaving their apartments that often in the wintertime. So that's just a tip for you all. For number 2, you want to find your home or where it is that you're going to be. I do know when I was watching the videos of people who were moving just by faith, where they quit their job, moved to a new city, didn't know anybody as well. Some of them moved without an apartment. Some of them just moved into a hotel or a weekly and things like that because that is what God told them to do. That is not what God had for me. He allowed it so that I would have a permanent place, but he did tell me to get what I want. Do not settle. Do not try to, skip corners or anything like that, because I could have got a 1-bedroom for way cheaper, but that's not what I wanted, because again, I was moving out of a 1-bedroom apartment, so I wanted and needed my own space. So God did tell me that guideline: get what it is that you want, not what it is that you think you can afford or what you feel really, really safe and comfortable doing because you want to make your money stretch and last as long as possible. So that was mine. But some people, like I said on the videos that I watched, some of them did move without having anything in place, and they found weeklies or hotels and things of that nature. So if that is what God is calling you to do that. Trust him. I know it sounds wild, it sounds crazy, but do that. However, if he is telling you to pick what it is that you want, then pick what it is that you want and do that. So for me, with my apartment, some things that you want to look for if you are going to do the apartment route or even the home route. You want to make sure that you look at the security deposit, that you're aware of any application fees or hidden fees that they have, because sometimes there's like an admin fee or a pet fee if you have a pet, things of that nature. So just make sure that you look at all of the costs so that you know exactly what it is that you will be spending, because although you may not have the money for it, you still need to know how much you're going to need. You also want to, if you've never been to the area that you're moving to, if you want to feel like a little bit safer, or if you just are curious or you just want to know more about what it is that God got you about to go into, I would suggest looking at the place that you're moving to on Google Maps just to see what's all around, just to like get an idea of what is out there. And you all, that made me so excited to do. I'm somebody who loves to grocery shop, so when I looked around and I saw that there was grocery stores around me and an HEB, I was like, oh God, you know my heart. So it's really fun to do, and it's just also to eliminate any like fears you may have about stepping into the unknown. But if you're somebody who just wants to be completely totally surprised, then I would suggest skipping that, but it's something fun to do if not. I would also say check the reviews on Google just to get a feel of what the residents think and say. Now of course you can't go completely off of what they say. For example, my previous job, when I had Googled the reviews on them and what people thought about working there, they had really awful reviews and a lot of people talked so much stuff about them, but I really felt called to apply and be there, so I did. And you all, that was literally the best job I've ever had in life, like the absolute best. So do not always go by the reviews, but it is good to just get a little idea of what others are thinking or saying about it. And plus sometimes you'll find out things you didn't know about it. Also, a lot of apartment homes go by the same kind of fluctuations that airlines do. So it's sort of like when you go look at plane tickets to a certain place, on one day it might be $100. If you check back on a random Tuesday at like midnight, it could be $30 cheaper. cheaper. Always be sure to check at different times of the day. I believe Tuesdays are like the cheapest day. I could be wrong on that, but I believe Tuesdays are usually like the cheaper day. You can even probably Google which day is the best to apply for an apartment home or like get the best rate. Also, sometimes apartment homes do not advertise specials online, so it's always good to just call and check and see if they have any specials going on. And if you're a little afraid to do that, then you could always have like a persona. You know, you can just act like you're just calling around to different places and not let them know that you are actually moving there or you want to move there, especially if you're not ready or, you know, you're still doing your research and stuff. Once you have found your home, you then want to start calculating the cost, because you want to make sure that wherever it is that God is moving you, you know what bill to give God. It's like when you're out to eat and you're ordering food, and when it's time to pay, they come give you a receipt so you know exactly what it is that you have to pay. Give God that receipt, but you won't be able to give God a receipt if you haven't calculated the cost. Determine what will work for you. Are you going to move yourself, where you just sell everything and you pack what will fit in your car and drive? Are you going to rent a truck, use a service such as like U-Haul or Penske and get a moving truck, and you know, you just drive over still, or even get a little car tow hitch and drive over with your car towed on the back? Or will you hire help, where you're like, you know what, sis ain't trying to move. I'm not trying to do no lifting, and so they do everything for you and you just get yourself to your destination. For me, myself, I did something sort of like a mix of the two, where I moved myself but I also hired help. So I used a service through U-Haul called U-Box, where they come drop off this box to your home, and you can either pack it up yourself, or for an additional cost you can hire movers and they'll pack it up for you, and then they come back and they pick up the box and they'll ship it to wherever it is that you're moving to and then unload it at your new place. So I did that, and I hired the movers because I lived on the 3rd floor, plus I had my 3 babies, and I figured when I got to my new place, which is Houston, I didn't know how I would be able to move everything upstairs by myself while having the 3 of them. But in total, if anybody is wondering like how much it cost for me to move everything, with the U-Box, including the movers, moving from Orange City, Florida to Houston, Texas, it was a total of $1,200. And then for me to drive over, the gas I spent maybe like $120. Let's say like $120. So yeah, that was my moving cost. In my opinion, it wasn't too bad, because I did move from Tucson, Arizona to Orange City, Florida the year prior to that, and that trip cost me about $2,000, and I drove over myself. And actually it was a little bit more because I actually bought plane tickets to fly the children over. But would I recommend U-Box? I didn't really have a great experience with them, so I would not recommend them. The movers themselves were actually fantastic and amazing, but U-Haul itself, I didn't like the way that they handled the reservation. They communicated very poorly with me. They had a lot of changes very last minute that no one communicated in advance, so I wouldn't suggest them. Plus the U-Box, if you get movers who know how to pack it, I think you can really maximize your space. But if you're gonna do it yourself, I will say it may not be worth it, only because of how small and tiny the U-Box actually is. It's more narrow than it is wide, so to fit everything in, you have to be really good at Tetris, I will say. So I am very, very thankful, looking back in hindsight, that I got the movers, because if I would have tried to pack up everything myself in that small U-Box, I would have left behind a whole lot. And then last but not least, just take action. Just do it, okay? There is nothing to be afraid of other than fear itself. God got you. If God called you to move, know He is going to take care of it all the way. Do what it is that you can do, and then allow faith to do the rest. Be open and flexible. Things are not going to go as you expect or as you may always want it to, but it's going to go as it should. Again, I told you all, I experienced a lot of spiritual warfare, and I have a video that you can go look at. It's actually episode number 4, where I detailed the spiritual warfare that I went through. You all, I got into a whole car accident. I haven't been in a car accident in the last 5 years. So yeah, that was fun. And then last but not least, enjoy the new opportunities and possibilities that are before you. God is doing something new in your life, and that should be exciting. Yes, it may be scary. Change can always be scary, but change can also be really, really good if you let it. So enjoy what it is that God is doing in your life, and have faith that everything is going to work out the way it should. You all, I leave you all with the Bible verse, Romans 8:28. For we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. So you all, I thank you for tuning in to this series. I really do hope that you all have enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below if you all have enjoyed this series, or if there's something more that you would like to know about my move to Houston, or if you even have a suggestion on what it is that you would like to hear about next. Please do share it with me. I would love to hear it. Miss Barbara, I just have to say I thank you so very much. You are always such a pleasure and always on time. So I thank you so much for being with me and being a part of the Prospering Property community. And for those who are new, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you are notified every single time we drop. Hit that like button. Share it if you know there's somebody who's getting ready to move, or if they feel as if God has called them to move but they are a bit unsure, or if they're a little afraid. Please do share this video with them so that they can be encouraged that everything is going to be all right. Take care, and in the meantime, in between time, let's continue to prosper properly as his property. Prospering property.